Tony, if I kick things off with you, what do you think has been the main problem with the design of the PPP program in the first place?
Yeah, look, I think that, there have been obviously a number of problems on, some of the gating and who's distributing and the size of the loans and what to do with them. But I will tell you that by far, in a class by itself, is really just the underfunding of the program. We wouldn't be talking about, problems in distribution and who got money and who didn't get money and who got it first and whether they deserve to get it first if Congress had just merely treated this like the entitlement program it is. And an entitlement program says if I qualify, the money is there for me. And we found out that that's not the case because Congress keeps underfunding the program. We're probably going to run out of money again and have to come back to it again. So that's where I'd first begin, is fully fund this program. In fact, overfund it, so nobody has to really rush to the window to go get money.
Steve, if that had been the case, and I guess it could still be the case going forward, it wouldn't reduce the case of certain companies taking money when they don't need it as much as others, but it would at least address the issue of some being squeezed out that need it most.
I think that's absolutely right. And a quick caveat here. Look, the Treasury threw up a very quick program here, and obviously, speed is the enemy of efficiency in this regard. And so I think that needs to be said. If there was more money, we wouldn't be having quite this conversation. I think, Wilf, you would know better than I do, and that the larger banks were a little more successful in the second round because of this issue of being able to process in the batches or the large numbers there. But I think another key issue is that I don't agree at all with the idea of forcing these companies to use the loans for their employment. I don't think that makes any sense to me. I think employment should have gone to for unemployment insurance. That should have been handled that way. And that businesses should have been given loans to take care of their other credits, because those just as surely as employment could be a reason why they can't reopen on the backside of this.
And Tony, to the point of that debate, speed versus efficiency, despite some of the teething problems and imperfections, do you think it will prove to be an effective program in terms of offsetting some of the big economic problems we're facing?
Yeah, I do. But look, by the way, I would agree with Steve. We'd love to see it. We need to see a lot more flexibility in this program going forward. But I compare it to where the Treasury and the Fed are today with the Main Street lending program, which it seems to me they're taking all of the time to try to perfect this program. But now we're 6 weeks after passage of the CARES Act, and we still don't have $1 coming out of the Main Street lending program. So I think we're going to look back and say PPP was imperfect, but really amazing in being able to push out, hundreds of billions of dollars out to these businesses. And could it have been done better? Sure. But in this tight window, it's been imperfect, but pretty effective. Right now, for like Main Street lending program, we say it might end up being perfect, but maybe underwhelming in its, certainly in speed.
But
the speed
Tony,
that Steve was talking about, we don't see speed yet.
But Tony, I would just come back and say the administration has yet to articulate a philosophy underlying this program. I think speed was the philosophy, but they haven't told us yet who gets it, why they get it, what it's supposed to pay for. Is everybody supposed to be made whole? What we have here is a situation where the recipients of it were essentially random, depending upon the ability of the bank to get an SBA loan number, and they survive and those don't. And so we don't have an allocation here where we have the best economic outcome if it's random survival and not some form of underlying concept behind the survival.
Well, two points to add to that, Steve. I think one is, to Tony's point, if they massively increase the size of this, that issue would be removed. I think also in defense of some of the companies, Shake Shack always gets named here, that the government was very unclear to begin with, or mixed messages to begin with, about what the point was, and they kind of backtracked on that. Initially, it was like, take the money if you need it. Now it's much more like only if you absolutely need it, and certain caveats on that point. I just want to come back to a broader point, though, Tony, in terms of the Main Street lending program. Clearly, bond markets are functioning, given the Fed's action, and the biggest companies, whether you're an airline or a Boeing, you're still able to get funding. And clearly, the PPP program is getting money to a lot of the smaller companies that need it, if not or all of them. If Main Street lending program successfully addresses the gap in the middle, will we look back in the end of this year and think, wow, no company that didn't need to go bust went bust because they did successfully get 2 or 3 programs out that kind of covered the whole size of the company universe.
Wilfred, I think you're exactly right. I mean, and I think we should give a lot of credit to the sort of creativity here in trying to fill these gaps. It's such a unique problem, and I think we are going to see that. I think we're going to assuming that Main Street Lending Program gets off the ground and there's take-up, there are some potential complexities with the program that might inhibit take-up. And I know there's interest in not repeating some of the problems where there at least the perception that some of the wrong kinds of companies are getting assistance. We'd always rather see the private sector fill that role. But I do feel like that's what we're going to see. We're seeing a lot of creativity in these programs. They are, by and large, pretty successful so far.
Steve, quick final question to you, which is this. I mean, even if we put that optimistic spin on things, there is a limit to how long these funds last, both from the government side, but also for the companies receiving it. Does that increase the pressure on the government to allow reopenings, almost sort of regardless of how successful they are?
I think that's right, Wilf, and I think that the discussion, we keep looking backwards. And this is an interesting look backwards, but we should keep looking forwards. We should be having a discussion now about having another round of funding available and fixing the mistakes of the past and making sure that the neediest companies and the worthwhile companies get that money. We may get into a situation where the government has to pick winners and losers, and I think we want to avoid that whatsoever. And so we should be having this discussion right now about another round. If it's not needed, put it away. If it's needed, we take it off the shelf, punch the button, get the money out to the small businesses so they get up and running.
Tony, Steve, thanks so much. Great to see you both.